I'm a writer and journalist, and I grew up in Hastings. This piece is narrative nonfiction, and broadly, it's nature themed. Recently, I was at a meeting of druids. Yes, real-life, modern-day druids. We sat in the Peace Garden of Alexandra Park in Hastings, in a semicircle, and a lady spoke about honouring the solstice, the seasons, nature. Around her sat a few other druids who all wore green. I had imagined them wearing white. We love the woods and the trees, she explained. And later we meditatively walked around the garden, cherishing young oak trees. Each druid comes to the faith in their own very individual way, she said. And it seemed to me, as she went on, that she had spent a great portion of her life seeking spirituality. She had even visited Native American tribes who emphasized feeling connected to the land, but who impressed upon her the importance of finding that connection in her own land. Druidism is an old English religion with ancient traditions, but strangely, there aren't many populists and politicians calling for its return. The traditions we emphasize change to suit our current moment. Just like how language changes, we do not speak like how the Tudors spake. Language evolves, as does culture, and what remains, one hopes, is progress. So let me tell you about a personal progression I made not too long ago. One day, I decided to walk from Brighton train station to Saddlescombe Farm. I do not drive, so I thought I could make this barrier into a small adventure and used just my legs, as most people did back in the day. I employed Google Maps, like any average Joe, which plotted for me the quickest route from A to B. I set off. The first half of the walk was none too enjoyable. The route took me along a long straight road that constantly sloped upwards, filled with traffic noise, but progress was steady. Then I had to skirt motorway-like roads, avoiding death by fast-moving vehicle. It was dangerous and charmless. Finally, I made it onto the downs, where I could breathe a sigh of relief alongside the ponies standing gormlessly on the meadows. It was misty and cool, a slight drizzle. I tramped up and down the downs, knowing the farm was in the middle distance. I enjoyed the variation in elevation, although I was still a little frazzled from the monotonous road from before. Composing in the 1800s, Maud Robinson, the lady of this farm, wrote, "What would modern young people think of the utterly quiet life on the downs in winter, shut in by snow or rain, with no neighbours to associate with, no wireless, no gramophone, no piano?" I read this passage in a Costa coffee, sipping a cortado, and I was struck by how different things were for choice of entertainments, and by how similar, such as the nostalgia-tinged sentiment. Progress can be an illusion. When I got to Saddlescombe Farm, secure in the knowledge I had arrived using my mind, thanks Google Maps, and my legs, I treated myself to a sit-down in the cafe and an ice cream, strawberries in clotted cream flavour. I let it melt a little, savouring the anticipation of its taste. Behind me, sprouting in the corner, was a cornucopia of marsh marigold. It was a largely overcast and moody day, but these large buttercups stood in contrast. For a moment, I looked upon them, these flowers, and their bright yellow suffused the silence. A happiness that was no illusion, because it has lingered and resides here still. I think a druid would approve.